Hello everybody, welcome to semester 2. If you remember from semester 1, we left off with solving one-step equations. As you can see by this PowerPoint, that's where we're going to kind of pick up. We're going to review one-step equations because our next unit is two-step equations. So we'll just be adding pieces to what we did at the end of first semester with one step. We'll add a couple steps and continue to solve equations. Remember, we're solving for x. We want to get that variable by itself, and that's will kind of lead into my first slide here. Remember, when solving, keys for solving, the goal is to always get the variable x by itself. We do that by moving the number on the same side of the equal sign to the other side. So we got to find where x is. We got to get x by itself by moving everything that's with x over to the other side of the equal sign. And remember, we can't just kind of pick that number up and move it. We have to do a special thing, which we have to use the inverse or opposite operation to move numbers across the equal sign. Going into operations, remember we have addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division. Our operations, again, addition, pretty straightforward. Subtraction, multiplication, in terms of what we're going to see, obviously you have the x, you have a dot, and then we'll get more into what it's going to look like in an equation. Division, same thing. We've got our standard division sign, or kind of a slash, or sometimes a fraction bar. Again, we'll look at it in equations. So when we look at what it looks like in an equation, addition and subtraction are pretty straightforward. We could have x plus, let's say a number, we'll go with 2, equals 5. So we have that plus sign there, and then we also could have 2 plus x equals 5. Now I want to make note, we know this addition, and we know this addition is linked to this 2 right here because it's what follows it. So we have plus 2, that's going to be a positive 2. Our second example is also an addition problem, not because of this addition sign here, but because of what's in front of the 2. And you might say, oh, there's nothing in front of the 2. In math, like we talked about, if there's nothing in front of a number but it starts the equation, we automatically assume that that number is positive instead of negative. And I think we can jump right into our next example with subtraction. Again, that would look like x minus 2 equals 5, or negative 2 plus x equals 5. So straightforward here. That minus is in the middle, so we know that 2 is now a negative 2 because it's minus 2. And here's what I was talking about with when we have a number out front, we always have to pay attention with what's out front. In this case, we do have that negative sign, so there's your minus. And like we talked about in the equations with multiplication and division, they look a little different than what we're used to of an x or a dot for multiplication and kind of our standard division or a fraction bar or a slash. So let's go ahead and talk about multiplication. In an equation, remember, multiplication is going to be depicted as a number and a variable right next to each other. Let's say 6 this time. So when we have a number and a variable right next to each other, that means we are taking 2 times x. Notice there's nothing in between those. They're smushed up right next to each other. That will always mean multiplication. And then for division, it is always going to be a fraction bar. Changed up my numbers here. So we have x divided by 5, and again, here's our fraction bar. Remember, division, all division is fractions. Fractions, all they are division. So we have x divided by 5 equals a number. So we have our 4 operations again, and we have what they would look like in equations. Hopefully this is helpful to kind of clear some cobwebs out after Christmas break and kind of get you back into the swing of things. Let's go ahead and look at an equation. This is something we've seen before, and I kind of wrote out what I thought were the 5 steps to solving. You might combine a couple of these steps, but I wanted to make sure everything was there. So we'll go step by step, and we will make sure we have everything. So I'm going to start with yellow. which will be our step 1. So step 1 says draw a line down the equal sign. So I'm going to go ahead and draw my line down my equal sign. Again, that might seem redundant or silly. I promise you, in math, setting up your work and having organization can fix the majority of your mistakes or prevent you from making errors with organized work. Step 2, I'm going to use red so we can identify it. It says identify where X is at. So I'm going to go ahead and for this sake, I'm just going to underline X. I know X is right there, and I know it's on the left side of my equal sign. I'm going to switch to purple here just to break up our steps. Step 3, determine what needs to move to get X by itself. So remember, we want this X by itself, and I noticed that there's this -4 on the same side as X. I want that X all by itself, so I know I need to get rid of the -4. Again, you don't have to put that arrow. That step is more of just identification. You can do that in your head. If you would like to put the arrow, by all means put the arrow if that helps you. Step 4, it says move the number to get X by itself. And again, here's that key term again, inverse operation. Inverse, remember, means opposite. So if we have a -4, to move that across the equal sign, the opposite of negative or subtract 4 is we are going to add 4. And again, remember, this line acts as almost a magic mirror. So if I do something to one side, I have to do it to the other. And our last step, I'll make in green. It says bring X down and solve on the other side. So if we look at this math problem, -4 plus 4, well, 4 minus 4, or -4 plus 4, is going to cancel out. That's going to get me 0, which leaves me with X on this side. I bring down my equal sign, and on this side, I just have to do the math. Remember, no matter what it is, we're going to type it in like we see it from top to bottom. So in this case, we're going to type in 12 plus 4. 12 plus 4 should get me 16. Once I have that, I have X by itself. I have a number on the other side. I have completed my one-step equation. And again, I know I have 5-step listed. These are called one-steps because the only math we did was we were adding 4 to both sides. That makes it a one-step. 2-step, obviously, catch on, we're going to have to do 2 things to our equation to get X by itself. Moving on, I've got, 8 examples, all different types. Go ahead and change my pen here. I will go ahead and work through these 8 examples, kind of talking through your assignment. I will explain at the end of the 8 examples, and then I'll turn you guys loose to complete and turn in your assignment. So if at any time you want to copy down these and try them on your own and check your work with mine, you can. If you'd like to just follow along with me on a sheet of paper, or if you just want to follow along with the video, that is okay as well. I'll explain your assignment at the end of this, but I'll jump right into these problems. We'll start with x plus 6 equals 13. Again, I'm going to draw my line, identify where x is, and I notice I got to get rid of this plus 6 to get x by itself. Inverse of plus 6, I'm going to subtract 6. If I subtract 6 from one side, whoops, I got to do the same thing to the other. So when I do that, I have 6 minus 6. That's going to give me 0. I can bring my x down, and I have 13 minus 6. Type that in. 13 minus 6 gets me 7. So here's my first one. Oops, my PowerPoint's going crazy here. There we go. Second one, I'm going to draw a line down my equal sign as well. I notice x has moved to the right side. That's okay, as long as we just have to get x by itself. I have to figure out what's on the same side as x. I've seen a lot of people are like, oh, we always move from the left, so they want to move this 16. No, 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 don't do that. Remember, we have to get rid of anything with x. So in this case, we have a plus 5 with x. The opposite of plus is subtraction, so minus 5. Again, we have to do it to both sides. Cancels. My x can come down. 16 minus 5 should get me 11. And again, it really does not matter what side it's on. We could also write our answer like this, or we could write it like this on the first one. I just usually keep the x on the same side. I will accept either answer way as long as Obviously, your answer is correct, but it does not matter which side x is on. Looking down here, I'm going to draw my line down the equal sign like always. I identify where x is. It's right there. I notice I have a minus 3 or subtract 3. The opposite of subtract or minus is going to be addition. So I'm going to add 3. If I add 3 to one side, remember I have to do it to the other. Cancel my 3's out. I can bring my x down. And I have negative 12 plus 3. Again, use your calculator. Negatives are always tricky because you're kind of counting backwards in a sense. So if you have negative 12 plus 3, that would be like you owe somebody $12, you pay them back 3. How much would you still owe them? And in this case, when I type it in my handy dandy calculator that I got here, I get negative 9. That's my answer for that one. Last but not least for this page, again, line down the equal sign. It's getting messy. I'm going to erase these just so it's split up. There we go. Line down our equal sign, identify where x is. I see there's a minus 2 next to x that I'm going to have to move. Opposite of minus is plus, so I'm going to add 2 to both sides. Negative 2 plus 2 is going to get me 0. I can bring my x down. And I have negative 10 plus 2. Type that into my calculator. I should get a negative 8. So that kind of takes care of the addition and subtraction problems. And if you want to pause the video and take a look at your work compared to mine, do so now. See what you got, or if you're following along, we're going to move on to multiplication and division. All right, so looking at multiplication and division, we've got a couple things we have to look at. Again, we're going to start the same with drawing a line down our equal sign. We have to identify where x is, which in this case it's on this side. Actually, I'm going to put it up here. And we know we're working with multiplication and division, which are inverse of each other. I noticed that my number and my variable are squished up next to each other. So I know it's saying 2 times x. So the opposite of times or multiply is going to be divide. So I'm going to draw a fraction bar on each side. And I need to divide by what's with x. So in this case, my 2 and my x are together. So I'm going to divide by 2. 2 divided by 2 is 1, which gets x by itself. And then we have 16 divided by 2. If we type 16 divided by 2 into our calculator, we get 8. The next one, moving on. Again, like always, draw the line down the equal sign. I'm going to identify where x is. This time it's on the right. I see they're smushed. I know it's multiply, so I need to divide. So I draw my little fraction bar. And again, we're going to divide by what's with x or what's connected to x. In this case, it's 10. Now, I've seen some people do this. Don't forget your sign. In this case, it's a negative 10. So we're going to divide both sides by negative 10. Those are going to cancel. Bring my x down. And then we have 70 divided by negative 10. 70 divided by negative 10, that will get you negative 7. So again, those are two problems where we identified multiplication, and we had to use division as the inverse operation. The last two, as you notice, already look like a fraction, which means they're division problems, and we're going to have to use multiplication to get x by itself. I find where x is. It's on the left. I'm going to multiply. So I'm going to draw a dot, and I'm going to multiply by what's with x again, and I'm going to do that on both sides. So I have negative 4 times negative 4, or 1/4. Those will cancel. My x will come down. And on the other side, I have 4 times negative 4. Again, don't forget your negative sign, so you're going to take 4 times negative 4. A positive times a negative is going to get you a negative, and it will be negative 16. And last but not least, like always, line down the equal sign, identify where x is. I see it's a fraction, so I need to multiply both sides. I have to multiply by what's with x. In this case, it's 3 underneath there. Multiply by 3 on both sides. Those are going to cancel. I have x equals, and I have 3 times 5, which will get me 15. And there's my final answer. Again, if you need to pause the video, check your work. If you'd like to copy these down, have them for your notes, or if you're checking your work or following along, that's awesome. If you need to pause the video, please take that time. And looking ahead, I will explain our assignment for today. So we worked through 8 examples together. We have our steps, and this video will be uploaded, or you're watching this video because it is uploaded. But if you go into Canvas, you will notice our first assignment is, if I can find it, yours will look a little different, but your first assignment is a quizzes review over 1 step. It'll have you type in your answers. Again, you can type in just the answers you get. You can type in the number. You can type x equals the number. You can type in x space equals space the number. I kind of set it up for multiple kind of entry points. Again, if you haven't watched this video or you need to watch this video again, you can click in this red where it says click here. That'll take you to this video you're watching now if you want a refresher. And if you notice at the bottom, this is practice. So this assignment will not be entered as a grade for PowerSchool. Again, this is practice, but use this quizzes link. Like it says, please use your preferred name or what you go by. Something that I know you by, not like a nickname, but something that I know you by. So I just know who's who. Again, you can have multiple attempts if you want to get more practice or improve your score. And then once you do finish the quizzes, all I ask is that you take a screenshot of your kind of final score, the leaderboard final score, and upload it to this page. Again, let me know if you have any questions. I'm available via email or Teams. And here's to a great start to second semester. We're going to have a lot of fun. We're going to do a lot of math, and we'll finish the year strong.